Spoke? Okay. Hi, YouTube. Uh, hi, Taco. Hi, Euphoria. Pleasure to see you. So, yeah, sorry it's been a while, but uh, I'm now back in Tokyo, right now being quarantined. Quarantined? Sorry, I'm not sure the pronunciation. Let's have a look. Quarantine, buff. Quarantined. Okay, so now I'm in Tokyo, quarantined in the upper hotel, Ryogok Tower. Hi, Euphoria. Hi. Thanks for saying hi. So this is English live streaming. So yeah, I'm very glad to have you here. Uh, Euphoria. So hi, Dalong Janji. Quarantine. Not good internet connection. My side or your side? Not sure. But yeah, let's get going. So I've been reading the different books on the marriage system. Today's book is Marriage, a History, written by Stephanie Kuntz, who is an author and historian from the United States. Aki-san. Hi, Aki-san. And we'll do the introduction part of the book called Marriage: A History, written in 2005. I think this book right now, so far, this book is the best book on the history of marriage system uh, after the millennium. I don't know if you know a better book. Please let me know. Hi, Gloria Mika. Hi. Okay, let's get going. I hope everything is going well. I don't know, maybe I should do the quarantine stream as well. Quarantine stream as well for anyone who is interested in what the quarantine life looks like. But today is going to be about the book. Okay. Hi, I'm here. Pleasure to have you. Thanks. This particular streaming is in English, but next time, I'm not sure if next time it's going to be tomorrow, but hopefully tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Japanese, 明日は日本語, and the day after tomorrow is going to be English, okay? So Japanese, English, Japanese, English. And also, after we do the book, after we do the partition of the book, we'll go to the Instagram live together with someone available. So I send you invitation to join me to have a conversation on Instagram. So yeah, if you're friendly enough and if you have time to talk with me, please wait uh, till the end of the stream. And I'm very looking forward to chatting with you. Thank you, YouTube viewers. Usually, YouTube viewers are anonymous because they are not signing into their YouTube account. So I don't know who they are, but I can see someone's there. So I'm very glad to have you. Hi. So introduction. Great. Let's get the introduction. Mm. So people in general, for thousands of years. So I don't know, 4,000, 5,000, but thousands of years, human beings, or people, have been always complaining about the marriage, always complaining about marriage, and they always been saying, the marriage used to be better in the past. So that's what people have been always saying. So it's not a new thing that today we are saying. I don't know, quite a few people saying, "Oh, marriage is not good anymore. It used to be better in the past." But even in the past, everyone was saying, "Oh, marriage is not good anymore. It used to be better in the past." So that's always been in the like cycle or repetition of that, like complaining about the uh, ongoing situation and saying the past used to be better. And the marriage is no exception to this trend. Hmm, that's interesting. And it's not just like yeah, it's not just Stephanie Kearns is saying. Actually, there's evidence about like ancient people were complaining about their time, and the ancient people were saying that it used to be better in the past. So that's the yeah, that's it. Such nonsense. Hi, such nonsense. Thanks. I'm glad to have you. Yeah, so the European settlers in America began lamenting the decline of the family and the disobedience. Sorry, I'd love to check the accent. Bear with me for a second. Disobedience. Sorry, that was very wrong. Disobedience. So, sorry, the European settlers in America began lamenting the decline of the family and the disobedience of women and children almost as soon as they stepped off the boats. That's interesting. Aksan is having sushi. That's perfect. 僕免許更新しなきゃな. So Aksan just submitted his license. Thanks. So the invention of a past filled with good marriages, uh, Kayla concluded, is one way people express discontent about other aspects of con- contemporary contemporary life. Mm, it's interesting. Contemporary. So yeah, let me repeat that again. The invention of a past filled with good marriages is one way people express discontent about other aspects of contemporary life. うん。頑張ってください、アキさん。Okay. Discontent. うん。Hi, Sanam. And almost every marital and sexual arrangement we have seen in recent years, however stuttering it may appear, has been tried somewhere before. Somewhere before. So what it says is like, you know, people say, "Oh, this is a new type of marriage. That is a new type of marriage." But almost every type of marriage has been tried somewhere, sometime before in our history. That's what Stephanie Kearns found out. Hi, was newborn. That's cool. Hmm. So there have been societies and times where non-marital sex and out-of-wedlock birth were more common and widely accepted than they are today. Okay. And yeah, but on the other hand, so what Stephanie Kuhn just said is like almost every every time people say this is new, that is not literally new because that has been tried somewhere sometime before. But on the other hand, some things that people believe to be traditional were actually relatively recent innovations. So some things are actually so some sorry some things that people believe to be traditional were actually relatively recent innovations. Cool. For example, Marriage has been licensed by the state or sanctified by the church. That's one example. So that sounds like marriage needs to be licensed or marriage needs to be sanctified by the church. Sounds quite traditional, but it is actually relatively new stuff. In ancient Rome, the difference between cohabitation and legal marriage depended solely upon the partner's intent. So it was just the intent matters, not like the license or not like a proper sanctification. Is the right word, sanctification? Do we have the word called sanctification? Okay, we have the word, thanks. Yeah. Hi, YouTube guys. Somehow we have more YouTube guys than Instagram guys today. I don't know why. Even the Catholic Church long held that if a if a man and women said they had privately agreed to marry, whether they said those words in the kitchen or out by the haystack, they were in fact married. So it was that casual. They just they just needed to go to the church and they just needed to say, "Hi, hi priest." I don't know if it was priest or not. "Hi priest, we actually yesterday we promised to be married in our kitchen or by our haystack," and that was sufficient enough. Yeah, just saying that aloud. So they need to be like a very. They didn't need any formal, you know, register system. They didn't need any formal register system, or like they didn't need to sign the paper in the past. And once you had given your word, the church decreed, and you couldn't take it back, even you'd never had sex or lived together. Even if you'd never had sex or lived together, you couldn't take it back. But it says, but in practice, there were many more ways to get out of a marriage in the early Middle Ages than in the early modern era. Okay, cool. So yeah, again, when it comes to any particular marital practice or behavior, there may be nothing new. There may be nothing new when it comes to particular marriage practice or behavior. But but when it comes to the overall place of marriage in society, when it comes to the overall, sorry, when it comes to overall place of marriage in society, so position of marriage in the society and the relationship between husbands and wives, nothing that past is anything like what we have today. That's interesting. So two things are completely new today. One thing is the where the marriage is positioned in society, overall place of marriage in society. That's the first thing which is completely new in our era. The second thing is the relationship between husband and wife. So between, yeah, husband and wives, relationship between men and women. So people's sense of what the marriage crisis involves differs drastically from place to place. So what it means is, yeah, today, like if you go to Japan, people saying, "Oh, marriage is not working well anymore." If you go to US, people say, "Oh, the marriage is not working well anymore," and people in China might say the similar stuff. But in fact, uh, what it actually involves, or in what way people see the marriage system problematic differs from place to place, from country to country. For example, in the United States, in the US, politicians worry about the large number of children born out of wedlock. But in Germany and Japan, many planners are more interested in increasing the total number of births, regardless of the form of the family in which the children will be raised. That's interesting. That's interesting. And yeah, Japanese population experts believe that unless the birth rate picks up, Japan's population will plunge by almost one third by 2050. Hi, Sami Sesami. Hi. Sorry, I'm slightly sleepy because of the jet lag, but I'll do my best. And while federal policy in the United States encourages abstinence only sex education classes for young people and the media tout teenage virginity pledges. Tomo-san, Tomo-san, Momo-san. Hi, Momo-san. This is an English channel, English streaming, but tomorrow it's going to be Japanese, but feel free to stay and enjoy my English. I wonder what virginity pledges mean and what abstinence only tout. Abstinence only. Abstinence. Yeah. So in like if they phrase that in more simple manner, the U.S. politicians want to discourage American teenagers to have sex. Yeah, basically. But in Japan, Japanese pundits lament. Pundits. What does pundits mean? Pundits. 評論家. Okay. Japanese pundits or academics. Japanese pundits and academics, or not every academic, but yeah, anyway, Japanese pundits lament the drop in business at Japan's. Okay, that's interesting. Japanese pundits lament the drop in business at Japan's recent by our love hotels. So love hotels, by our love hotels in Japan are getting less popular. Hi, Instagram. Hi, SingSense. こんにちは。Today's 今日は英語でやっております。Next episode is going to be Japanese. Yeah, and one Japanese magazine recently pleaded young people don't hate sex, so please enjoy sex more, young people. So that's the Japan situation. So what Stephanie wants to say is it's true that marriage is becoming problematic globally, but actual sense of problem, so how people regard or how people see the problem very differs from country to country. モカマンコさん。モカさん。すごい名前。素敵な名前。こんにちは。Okay. That's fine. I'm getting sleepy, but I'll do my best. くるみさん。こんにちは。And in Italy, commentators are concerned about the growing numbers of mama boys. Mama boys in Italy means regarding to. Sorry, not regarding to. According to Stephanie, mama boys means people who choose not to marry. So boys who choose not to marry, and these are educated men in the 20s and 30s, 20s and 30s with good jobs, who stay in their parents' homes, where their mothers continue to cook, clean, and shop for them. More than one third of single Italian men between the ages of 30 and 35 live with their parents. あ、花さん、こんにちは。珍しい。Yeah, right now I'm talking in English, but yeah, tomorrow, 今日は英語で。花さん英語わかるんですもんね。 Yeah, tomorrow is an English episode, and next one is going to be in Japanese. Every marriage is becoming, konnichiwa, it's becoming more optional and more fragile. So that's the one thing common through the world. Let me say that again. Everywhere, marriage is becoming more optional and more fragile. More optional and more fragile. Everywhere, the once predictable link between marriage and child rearing is fraying. So connection between marriage and child rearing or childbearing is fraying. No, child raising is fraying. Hmm. Dear child. Not bearing. Child rearing or rearing or raising is fraying. Or maybe also childbearing as well. あ、リサ、珍しいね。リサじゃないわ。知らない。どのリサさんだろう。はじめましてかな。まあ、こんにちは、リサさん。ちょっと違うリサさんと勘違いしちゃった。今日は英語でやってます。Okay. And everywhere, relations between men and women are undergoing rapid and at times traumatic sorry. Everywhere, relations between men and women are undergoing rapid and at times traumatic transformation. In fact, I realized the relations between men and women have changed more in the past 30 years than they did in the previous 3,000, and I began to suspect that a similar transformation was occurring in the role of marriage. ムスタグラムさん、アッパーホテル綺麗ですね。まあ、今日天気がいいんでね、両国、東京両国、天気がいい。アッパーホテル、yeah, it's quite comfy. 感謝。Thanks to, yeah, I live on the tax right now paid by Japanese people, so I need to very appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for letting me have this kind of relatively comfortable quarantine period. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, actually, that was the most crucial point of this book, I think. So mainly two things is happening. Two things is happening to marriage. Mama Stabba-san, konnichiwa. Basically, two major things are happening to marriage today globally. One thing is marriage is becoming more optional and more fragile. So actually, sorry, three things. And second, link between marriage and child rearing is fraying. So fraying in other sense becoming more fragile. Think? Am I right? Does it mean fragile? Yeah, fragile or becoming more loose. So yeah, the marriage does not necessarily mean having babies anymore compared to the past. And third thing, relationship between men and women are changing very, very surprisingly rapidly. I think this is also referring to our awareness about the equality between men and women. Hana-san, sorry I gotta go, but it is very good to see you. Yeah, I'm very looking forward to having a chat with you very soon. Please let me know. I'm very looking forward to having a chat with you, Hana-san. Bye bye. Hi, it's true that 1950s marriage were exceptional in many ways. Okay, until that decade, relying on a single breadwinner had been rare. For thousands of years, most women and children had shared the tasks of breadwinning with men. It was not unusual for wives to bring home the bacon, or at least to raise and slaughter the pig, then take it to the market to sell. So yeah. In other words, the so-called love marriage became possible fast time, for the first time, the so-called love marriage became possible for the first time in the U.S. in 1950s. By the way, in Japan, it became very uh, common thing to get married on the base of romantic love in 1970s. So in the end of 1960s. So there's like a 20 years gap between the US and Japan for some reason. I don't know the reason yet. If you know, please let me know why there's this 20 years gap between Japan and the US regarding the spread of love marriage. Aslam, hi Aslam. In the 1950s, however, for the first time, a majority of marriages in Western Europe and North America consisted of a full-time homemaker supported by a male owner. Also new in the 1950s was a cultural consensus that everyone should marry and that people should wed at a young age. 今何分 how long have I? 26 minutes. ちょっと眠いな。一回止めようかな。うん。That's alright. Let's continue because much left. So for hundreds of years, European rates of marriage had been much lower. European rates of marriage had been much lower for hundreds of years. ジローさん、こんにちは。And the age of marriage much higher. The age of marriage was much higher than in the 1950s. The baby boom of the 1950s was likewise a departure from the past. Because birth rates in Western Europe and North America had fallen steadily during the previous 100 years. Okay. And yeah, there was a basic continuity in the development of marriage ideals and behaviors from the late 18th century through the 1950s and 1960s. It is referring to the ideology of romantic love based marriage. So the idea of romantic love based marriage was conceptually born in the late 18th century, but it became possible in practice only in 1950s, and it was still very valid in 1960s too. But it stopped working well in 1970s in the US. And in Japan, it stopped. The romantic love-based marriage stopped working well in 1990s. So again, 20 years gap between Japan and the US. Okay, in the 18th century, people began to adopt the radical new idea that love should be the most fundamental reason for marriage and that young people should be free to choose their marriage partners on the basis of love. So that was like a radically innovative practice or idea, which was conceptually born in the 18th century, late 18th century. Right. Until the late 18th century, most societies around the world saw marriage as far too vital and economic. Sorry. Economic. Sorry, I need to check the accent. Such a simple word. Economic. Sorry, there was a.ゆうさくさん。こんにちは。Economic. Great. So until the late 18th century, most societies around the world saw marriage as far too vital, an economic and political institution to be left, too vital an economic and political institution to be left entirely to the free choice of the two individuals involved, especially if they were going to base their decision on something as unreasoning and transitory as love. So love is, Yeah, love is unreasoning and transitory, and that was ah, Chisa-san, konnichiwa. That was like everyone was agreed in the until the late 18th century. Everyone agreed love was too unreasoning and too transitory to base it for to rely on love as a reason to get married, because the marriage until the late 18th century, most societies around the world saw marriage as far too vital and economic and political institution. So it was economic and political, not about love. So not about love in the past until the late 18th century. It was more about economic and political. Yeah, I haven't talked to Chita-san's properly before. So yeah, I'm very looking forward to talking with you or talking to you. As soon as the idea that love should be the central reason for marriage and companionship is marriage reason for companionship is basic. As soon as the idea that love should be the central reason for marriage and companionship its basic goal wa- was first raised, observer of the day warned that the same values that increases people's satisfaction with marriage as a relationship had an inherent tendency to undermine the stability of marriage as an institution. Hmm. Value that increased. So yeah, if I rephrase that, love-based marriage increased people's satisfaction, but also it increases the probability of marriage gets undermined and less stable. It increases the people's satisfaction, but love marriage also uh also shakes the stability of marriage and also shook the stability of marriage. So it became less stable. Mm. The very features that promise to make marriage such as a unique and treasured personal relationship opened the way for it to become an optional and fragile one. So the very features. So marriage became s- unique. Sorry, is it you? Quickly. It's okay. So marriage became unique and treasured by individuals, but it also, because of that reason, it also became optional and fragile. Okay. Hi, YouTube guys. I'm sleepy, but let's get going. Last chapter. For the next 150 years, so next 150 years, societies struggled to strike the right balance between the goal of finding happiness in marriage and the preservation of limits that would keep people from leaving a marriage that didn't fulfill their expectations for love. So because people expected love in the marriage, because people started to expect love in the marriage, uh, when love is gone, people started to want to leave the marriage. That didn't happen when marriage was not based on love. Marriage was based on economic and political reasons. So the when the love went away, that didn't undermine the marriage. But because recently marriage is based on love, when love is gone, it could undermine the marriage. So that was the reason. That's why it took 150 years to realize the love-based marriage. So people got the idea of love-based marriage in the late 18th century, but it took 150 years because it was so hard to find the right balance between the goal of finding happiness in love based marriage and the preservation of limits that would keep people from leaving a marriage that didn't fulfill their expectations for love. So that's it for today. Thank you. Sorry for my stiffness and thank you. I today was from Upper Hotel, 両国タワー, Upper Hotel 両国タワー, and now I am under quarantine because I just went back from London to Tokyo 4 days ago. So today is the my fifth day in Tokyo. Great. Thank you guys and see you tomorrow, maybe. I hope tomorrow, but sorry, I can't guarantee, but I'll do my best to come back tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Japanese, so 明日は日本語で、day after tomorrow is going to be in English, but I can't really guarantee if I can do this tomorrow, but I'll do my best. So see you then, and I will end stream on YouTube now. Bye bye. And here